let me show you something. And because of that, y'all see things the same way. Y'all believe in conversation. Let's talk. Let's communicate that way. Again, text messaging. Hey, what time you coming? Oh, I'll be there at 7. That's cool. But like when something broke your heart, you shouldn't be texting that out. Now, text it to yourself. You may need to language it out to yourself to make sure it's pure. Note, journals, I'm with all of that. But when it comes down to I need to have a conversation, I don't think that the end of it should be merely by digital platform. I think that there's a place for it in certain avenues of life. But when I need to discover where you were in this moment, like, Jared, man, your body posture was off. I could be like, yo, hey, baby, I know I said something the other day, and you kind of cringed at it. What was that all about? Me, I ain't texting that. I'm like, yo, Jared, man, he looked like he was off, man. Someone was bothered. Hey, yo, you good, man? Yo, I saw your face over there with the kids, man. It looked like someone was bothering you. No, man, I'm good. Okay, I just want to check in with you. You know what that does for him? It builds trust. That's just where I'm at.
I think it's
Care.
a personal journey too, right?
It is.
Because there's an awareness that has to happen. So for me, the only reason why I'm so aware of conversations and communication and connecting with people is I'm working through why I had a hard time with communicating and talking, right? Going back to, okay, what I believe is some things I think are just were put in us, right? Some personality traits and things are put in us. But I also believe life, situations, circumstances we have built the person who has just survived through some things, right? So I'm at the point now, I'm like, okay, so what's the created me and what's my generated me, right? So just ironically, so I grew up with my mom, single parent home. So a lot of my toughness just comes from watching my mom, how she flew, how she operated. That's just what I naturally kind of started to do. But also she was mean, right? So there was verbal abuse, which caused me at a young age to shut down communication. So now as an adult who apparently has a speaking voice, I'm trying to get back to, okay, what did that look like before, right? So just sometime at the end of the year, me and my mom were having conversations, and she just starts telling these stories about when I was a kid, when I was a baby, when I was a toddler, just randomly, not random, right? And so she tells me how I used to get out the crib. She didn't know how, but I used to I used to climb out the crib, or I found a string in the playpen. I pulled it and created a hole. Like I'm listening to her talk about this kid, right? This creative, this mischievous, this curious kid, and how everybody used to want to get me. She was like, it was just something about you that people just loved, and I had to call people to bring my own kid back, right? Like I had to, like people would come get you and not want to bring you back. So I'm just like, wow, like what was that in this little kid that now, life has kind of muted that. So I'm just trying, as I'm more conscious now about communication, like what was the creating me, what did God put in me naturally that has been stunted just because of life. So that's so why good. I'm just more aware of, man, like how people interact with me, how people talk to me, how they respond to me. I'm looking at things like that because I'm like, obviously it's something there that I don't see or I haven't seen that I'm just trying to get back to.
Whoa.
Right?
Wow.
So I think it's an awareness too. I think it takes an awareness to want to do differently or to want to do better.
I agree. And do you think that certain environments stifle awareness to the point where we only see one thing?
Yeah.
Now, this is what I mean. If you're raised in a household and a family, and this is all you've seen your whole life.
Yeah.
You get into the totally opposite environment. You don't see what you saw growing up. Some people feel more comfortable with the struggle and the pain and chaos because that's how they were raised. Put them in a sane, organized, developed environment. They don't respond the same. It's almost like putting a bear in a cage. You know, they're about like this is order. No, they will begin to create disorder just to feel comfortable.
Mm. That is real.
I'm just, and I'm not a psychologist. I just ask my wife. She's more clinical than I am. She helped me with this stuff. But this is one of those things like, yo, you have structure your whole life. When it's out of order, you go crazy.
Yeah.
You try to create structure, right? Now, granted, my mother and father, I lived with my mother and father for 18 years. My mother left my father, right? So I had a house. My father always had an apartment. We was an apartment or a house. He kept roof over our head, fed us, kept me clothed. I've seen order. I've seen order. I've seen what a mother and father dynamic looked like, right? It wasn't always cute, but I've seen what that looked like. So what does that do in my world? It frames my worldview.
Yeah.
My realities are framed by the family. So when you have a family that's broken, disturbed, misunderstood, misguided, in shambles, confused, toxic, disorderly, loved, cared for, what does that do for little Jared when he becomes a man?
Mm.
You know what I mean? How does that shape little Desi
Yeah.
when she becomes a woman? Now you got to look at, godly, man, Lord Jesus. You got to look at now like, did I run them off? Was it me?
Mm-hmm.
Or was it them? So now this is what I tell singles. When you in a dating relationship, this for the singles. Shout out to all my singles, y'all, if y'all on here. This is what I tell singles. You got to pull out the questionnaire and the quiz and the resume. You got to ask questions.
Yeah.
You got to ask questions. Was your mom and dad, were you raised by your mother and father? Yeah. It don't care if you was in a house, a shack, a roof, whatever. Were you raised by your mom and dad? Oh, that's awesome. Beautiful. If it's single parent home, no harm, no foul. If it was single parent home, those are just questions to ask.
Right.
Because now you're starting to understand pathology. Because if you see things rise up in the midst of your conversation, you're dating, you're like, yo, okay. Hey, yeah, I was, but it was kind of an abusive family, verbally. Not physically, but verbally, or maybe both.
Yeah.
Now you're starting to put the pieces together. So why? What am I doing? You're aware. You're aware.
Yeah.
And then we don't judge. So my job as a pastor and in the gifts of the Spirit, the fivefold,
Right.
as a builder, I got to be aware of people that build with me. Can't be like, oh, why you ain't show up for Bible study? We was at the park evangelizing. Why weren't you there? No. From the beginning, I'm watching you.
Mm.
I'm loving you. I'm loving you because I want you to tell me your story. I know that sounds bad, but I want to build your trust to the point where I can learn.
Yeah.
Because if we don't learn them, we lose them. Or they lose us. We lose each other. It could be a dynamic that just, man, nobody understands each other anymore. And I think that's the confusion with social media to some degree. You can't understand me from a post. I can sound like a jerk, yeah.
Yeah.
But what if that ain't really me? What if I'm putting on for clicks, likes, shares, and views? That still says something about me. But until you really get to know me, it could be perfect Patrick and perfect Patricia on social media. They's
That
perfect.
Patrick and
They can do no wrong, Jared. J Money, they can do no wrong until you get to know them, baby. You like, I like who I saw on social.
Mm. But the real person, though.
I don't like that real one.
Mm.
I went out on a date with that one. That one I see on social, them two different people.
Mm.
That's deep, man. I feel like a lot of men put stuff on social media because they can't say it in real life. As young black men, well, from the men I've been around, they've been so like cultured to be like cover their feelings. Like you don't tell this, you can't cry, you can't, be overly emotional. It'll be all right. You're a man. Just keep going. Don't worry about it. Just get over it. You'll be okay. So you're not able to speak much, not able to say much. When something bothers you, you coming into work or going to the store. How you doing today? I'm fine. We're made to say that. It's automatic answer for real. How you doing today? I'm good. We all say that. But are we really when we go home, looking at ourselves in the mirror, it's just us and our thoughts? That's when the real us is here. But we have to cover that every time we leave as a black man because you don't have any room as a black man to be down or be sad or be, overly overly emotional, I would say, because there's no room for that in our culture.
Yeah.
From what I've learned and the men I've been around, you just can't be too. You just gotta get over it. Whatever happens, just hold it in, get over it, and just keep going.
Wow.
There's no room for complaining or any of that. You just gotta keep pushing. So
Wow.
not really much to be said about certain stuff because you can't let it out, or you
Wow.
looked at as weak, or looked at as, an overly emotional man. There's certain stuff you can't say. So that's why I think a lot of black men don't say much, or don't feel okay with being able to speak to people.
What you think, Desi? And sometimes they think that an over emotional man is feminine.
That's what I was finna say. Like,
You finna dig into that?
what is over emotional? Like, what's over emotional? Like, you can be a little emotional, but if you hit this line right here, it's over.
That's over.
That's
You done
just
went
too
over.
much. That's just too much. You know what I'm saying? I think culture is just interesting.
Ooh, because even if a woman says that is such a good point, because when has a woman felt that a man was overly emotional? And I've heard my wife make suggestive thoughts and say, "Oh, that was too much," from a man. And I'm thinking like, I thought you liked do what do you do? But that's crazy, because even there's a limit. I'm like, whoa, so there's a limit to what I can. And what she was alluding to is like, I want you to lay your head on my lap and just talk to me. I want you to lay your head on my shoulder. I want to be able to hold you and you just cry. I want that.
Yeah.
But I don't want you spazzing out every time something hit. I want a man, though. So what she's saying in that, in behind the scenes, I want to embrace you, your whole you.
Right.
But when you go before man, I want that what would happen behind the scenes, build confidence, courage, surety to the public, that you're not creating nothing. You ain't trying to fake it.
Right.
You're just being what you were, what you got from me. You being that now. I gave you something, baby, when I held you, when you cried. Because I didn't did it, baby. I had to listen to it. All to this day, I'd be in church. She'd look over there. I'd just be boo, because I'm reminded of how good God has been to me. You don't need to lay hands on me for me to break down in tears. I can think of how good he's been.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying, you created. And I think that men are made, man, behind the scenes. Women are made in private spaces, not public ones. Public people that make public people, that I watch them. I put an eye on them, and I do like the Bible say, I mark them. Mark them folk that the public eye has made them. Private eye didn't have anything to do with it. In private, it was something different. And I'm really made behind the scenes. I really do. I really work on who I am behind the scenes, so that when I go public, my public authenticity shows up. I'm just so particular about that. I'm very particular about that, man. So, yeah, it's unique, man. It's a powerful. I think that relationally, we really got to be open and transparent enough. And the social media thing, man. When we know of people that got our number, but that's all they do is inbox us. Like, you got my number, fam. But I'm talking about me, real date to this day. And me and my wife look at each other like, why did they inbox us that? Why didn't just call? Inbox through Facebook.
Wow.
You got my number. And if you don't got my number no more, you deleted it or blocked me or whatever you did or whatever, just say that. You know what I mean? But you got numbers and you go and write this book. Just come and talk. Jodeci said it best, baby.
Come and talk to me.
Come and talk to me. I really want to meet you, girl. Come on. I really want to know your name. That was 90s R&B.
Yeah.
90s R&B had a script to the soul, baby. They can get to your soul. This R&B today, I don't know what that is. That's some ratchet, wild, illicit junk. When I was going through, we had breakups in the 90s. And you know this day. You 37, you know. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that out loud. Y'all forgive me. Y'all ain't going to see her face, so y'all don't know.
I'm so tickled.
They ain't going to know. But when we had a breakup, I don't know about y'all. You too young, Jared. But when I had a breakup, let me talk to the camera, to my 40s and up, and late 30s and up. When I had a breakup with somebody that I really cared for, I would throw on 90s R&B.
A song.
That helped me. That was what ministered to me. Maybe End of the Road. We're listening to Boys to Men. Well, I'm listening. Come on. I was listening to some Joe. I was listening to some really deep, soulful music that spoke to my situation.
Yeah.
That lets me know that there's people that can do that too. If a songwriter had the ability to write that song and somebody had the ability to sing that song and it had the artistic value to connect to me, that means that human beings can do the same thing.
For sure.
What the heck is social media being our leading element of interaction now, when God gave it to humans to do it, to face, via phone call? If I can't get you face-to-face, let me pick up the phone and call you.
Yeah.
People are they scared, man? Like, what are you scared? Like, and it goes back to that dynamic, man, I think at home, man, that maybe you were muffled.
Yeah.
Maybe it was hard for us to, overcoming, because you coming into yourself. And this is the thing about it. Coming into your real woman or man self, it don't have an end date on it. Expiration.
Right.
It could have started when you was 39, and it can end never. It never ends. I'm always journeying to be a better man. When did I come into that manhood space where people appreciated my conversation? I don't know. I don't know when it happened. I don't know. I really don't. I continue to pursue perfecting me according to God's image, according to his righteousness, and according to other good men. I have mentors. I have spiritual fathers. I have people that speak into my life that I trust. It's my duty to lead a better generation, better than the one I served. I want to leave I want my kids to be able to stand up and say, yo, this is why I believe what I believe. I love because my father and mother showed me what that looks like. And if they did not, because I've journeyed close enough with God, I've learned how to love. So the absence of your mama and daddy is not an excuse. I want to leave you with that. God fills those gaps. At least he has for me. So,
we just kind of kicked in that thing. I don't even think you did no proper nothing. We was just talking. It was just conversation. Really, we was just conversating, But it was good though.
Hey, I just want to talk. Yeah, let's just talk, man, because it ain't I don't want people to feel bad about their story.
Yeah.
I don't want you to feel hurt about just like, you will feel hurt and you will going to have moments that you're going to be down. I get that. But I want people to start using their story as ammunition to duty. Now it's my duty. Now, one thing I do have a problem with, I'm going to say this real quick. Some things I don't agree fully with when it comes down to certain brokenness and people pursue those careers or professions and study. Now, this is my thing. This is my heart. You have to be healed first to certain specialties and certain art forms. And I mean that from like psychology, psychiatry. Before you get to therapy, like wanting to be a therapist, you got to be whole. So people, they feel because they've been broken that I need to pursue therapy as a study so I can help people come out of brokenness. But I agree that you should help. But you need to be whole first. Be healed and whole. Pursue the study.
Yeah. Because
what I've seen that still triggers certain therapists. And I've seen that even though they're in the profession, there's still a place of healing and wholeness that they have not encountered yet.
Yeah.
So that's my challenge to this generation, not to be caught up to study your brokenness. Study it to the point where you pursue a profession behind it. That's not always the answer either. I think that some of the answer may be perfecting you, healing you, making you whole, and after that point, finding what your duty is. Because once God's made you whole, you may be like, yo, I don't want to be a therapist anymore. You think that the answer was you pursuing a degree in it. I'm 30. What am I, 30 nothing? I'm 42. I'm thinking about you. I'm thinking about you talking about 30. I'm 42. I've loved apologetics since my early 20s. I've just decided to study it. Let it sink in. I've loved it for over 20 years of my life and decided a year and a half ago I'm going to study it and get a master's in it. But over 20 years of my life, I've journeyed, discovered, postured, believed in it, healed in it, hurt in it, got whole in it.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, this is just just a beautiful time for me to really be balanced in how I deliver what I deliver.
Yeah.
Because I can break something if I don't balance it right. You got to stretch that muscle before you run.
This is true.
Baby, we got
Man,
folk ready to
tell something
run,
up.
but they ain't stretched long enough.
Tell something up.
And I mean that stretched your life.
Yeah.
Stretch your life. I've been challenged on many hands. And I think that everything that we've been fighting against don't mean we need to get a degree in it. I would rather you get whole first and pursue academia than to pursue the academia to make you whole.
So is healing and wholeness different?
It's the same. I would say it's synonymous. I would say to some degree, because wholeness is saying that you've journeyed enough through a healing process. That's what I would say, to make you whole. So I would say that the two could be exclusively, different. But I would say that they do ride the same caboose, because your healing journey, right? And I mean this in the space of sociological, psychological, emotional self, spiritual self, right? Goes through a healing journey, right? For wholeness. And the wholeness is saying that me as a being, I'm walking in what I've walked through to get to. And now I'm walking in my divine purpose and calling. And when people experience you on the whole side, they're going to know that you've been healed. Your whole healed self is whole. And because we're talking about the whole person, the whole you, psychologically, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Because you may be better psychologically now, but there may be some areas that you need to work through spiritually. So we're trying to get you whole, but it takes spaces of healing. Because like, where's the break at? Once you find out where the break is, and you're like, yo, that's a place we need to be healed in. Because you may find bitterness in the break. People get bitter over things that have broken them. You know what I mean? People get bitter, and again, relationally, if we talk about relationship, like, you don't give some men or women the time of day. Some of us don't give them the time of life. Like, they may be solid. They may be good people. You may have a certain attraction type. You may be like, yo, I'm attracted to this type. But that may be a man that be like a hidden diamond in the rough. But because we see what we want to see or what we want to experience, like, we don't give them the time of day to really just explore, like, yo, this is a really good dude. This is a really good girl. It ain't what I expected. But, yo, they pretty solid. And I think that we need to give that opportunity the space. But some red flags will come.
Yeah.
I'm going to shut up, too. I'm done. Red flags, when they come, they don't lie. I'm going to do an episode, Red Flags Don't Lie.
What is it Maya Angelou say, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them.
Yep. It's always the
Believe
truth.
them.
One question before we, finish off on this.
You sound like a preacher when you said that. One question before we.
We're gonna wrap
It's
it
just
up.
for real. I really want to know. So, what does it mean to be completely whole? Completely, like you said, in every way, spiritually, mentally, physically, emotionally. Like, when you're whole, how will you know? Like, how do you know what it is to be, like, whole? The word that you use, like, how will I know when I'm whole? And do you feel like you're at that point yet?
Why you ask me that one?
Hey,
Why you ask me that? I understand that faith has made. Jesus said that faith has made thee whole.
I'm so tickled.
So to be whole, I need to understand what that is, because obviously
You need to understand. You have to have a relationship with God first. That's the beginning.
Yeah.
On real talk, like, the beginning of your wholeness is commitment to God. That's why he said your faith has made thee whole. Your faith has. He's seen no faith greater in all of Israel. Yo, that's the beginning of wholeness, right? That's the journeying point. Because when you journey in life, you're going to need to default back to God in every element of yourself, right? Your mind got bad, default back to God. Lord, work on this mind. Your heart is still broken. Lord, help me work through this. You default back to God. You're going to default back to God in your whole journey to heal, so that now we can look at a whole person.
Yep.
But the thing about it is, when do you know? You know through the test. Through the fire.
Oh my goodness.
Through the something through the one. What's her name?
Adele?
Shaka Khan.
Oh,
Did he
my
say
bad.
Through the
Okay.
Shaka Khan. Who you saying?
Adele.
The Dale.
Adele?
Adele. Now stop it. Who listened to
bad.
Adele? I'm sorry. Y'all
It's a
forgive me.
little gap here. My fault. My fault. You know?
Baby said Adele. Baby Shaka Khan. And then Kanye came behind it and did Through the Fire. But anyway, I think once you go through the fire, I'm going to answer. Once you've been tested, once you have created a machine, you got to run it through diagnostic.
Man.
What's the deal? We're not going to make this camera and not diagnose. We're not going to make the new Tesla and not run it through a diagnostic. The test dummies drive it, check the security safety measures, right and left limits. We got to debug this. So when you say that you've arrived, you ain't really arrived yet until you've been tested. That's how you know.
No,
Baby.
you spot on.
That diagnostic,
You spot on.
ain't it going to tell something?
I last year I feel like the Lord came for everything that he was trying to heal everything at one time. Like he was trying to expedite the process, right? But what I realized though is sometimes we may think we're further along than where we are, right? So I had some, I think at some point we all probably got some mama daddy stuff, right? So I had gone through some stuff and had to release forgiveness to my dad. I mean, my dad was cool, you know what I'm saying? I thought I was good, okay? I thought I was good, but apparently I was not, till the Lord gave me a test to call and ask my father for money, right? So you have to understand, why I think it's important to get to know people, to understand their dynamics, right? So I was just in a space where I made sure I was good because I didn't want the disappointments of asking. I didn't want to have to go to nobody like, hey, I'm good. But it also made myself as my own provider, not the Lord, right? So we're journeying along now, right? So he has me to go ask my father for some money. And I said, no, I ain't finna do that. No, I'm good. But I did. But what I realized, he was just using that thing to open the door to some healing that needed to take place, right? So this was at the top of the year also, and through that, I was also working through some past relationship things, right? But what I realized, a lot of the decisions that I made in these relationships stemmed because I had daddy issues. So he coming for all of it.
Be
at
quiet,
one point.
Desiree.
He coming for all of it. This at the top of the year last year. Now here comes November. So I was in a relationship maybe like 2021, right? So these are the things that's still in there. I'm still working through forgiveness, all those things, So as I'm allowing the Lord to rip me to shreds, I'm gonna say rip me to shreds. That's what it felt like. Okay, that's what it felt like. And I just began to, through this process. After that, the guy, he kept dropping on my mind like heavily, like constantly, and I'd be mad. I was like, but I just began to pray. Every time he started dropping on my brain, I just pray for him, And it was a stint of time where I felt like it was almost every day for about a couple of weeks. What was going on, I don't know, but I was like, okay, Lord, just let me pray. Never see him. Like, we kind of live around the same area. Never see him out nowhere, nothing like that, right? Here comes November. Now, I'm stepping into this, this calling. I'm still trying to understand what it is. I'm not quite sure. But one of my mentors, her pastor is in Huntsville. So we're cool. And she had invited me to come do a Bible study. So this is my first time. Like I've held groups before, and they were coming out of a book. I think it was called Holy Spirit, the Bondage Breaker, or something like that. So they're coming out of this book, and I'm like, okay, yeah. So we pick a date, and it's the Wednesday after Thanksgiving week. So I wake up that morning. I had grits on my mind. I was like, oh man, I want some grits, but I wasn't finna cook, right? Because I was staying with my friend at the time. I was like, I don't want to do that. So I went to therapy. I had therapy that morning. Okay, last year I had got therapists and everything. I did therapy that morning, and I go to the Waffle House to get me some grits, okay? I walk in the door, and you guess who was standing at the counter? The guy.
The guy.
The guy.
Watch what you
guy.
say.
Now,
the
later
guy.
on that day, I got to go do a Bible study, okay? It's the guy that I'll never see. You know what I'm saying? Never see
The
the guy. Okay. So I walk past him like I ain't seen him though, right? So I walk past him, I sit down, I do
Correct.
some self-evaluation. I start
Correct.
doing
Correct.
some self-checking evaluations. I'm like, okay, all right, Des, what you feeling? You all right? Okay, I don't want to slash no tires. I don't want to, bust
Facts.
no windows.
Facts.
I was like, okay,
You
okay, Lord, you done helped your girl. You done helped your girl out. And so I'm just like, okay, I don't know why it had to be the time, why it had to be like that timing, you know what I'm saying? But I'm like, I'm glad because we don't know where we are until we have the test. Now, if I wasn't healed, if I hadn't allowed that process, I'd have been mad. You know what I'm
Talk
saying?
to us
now,
on it.
now I'm mad, and then to call myself trying to go teach some people about healing.
Healing.
Hello, the chapter was on healing. Okay.
That is
If
deep.
what you teaching if you ain't
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Then.
been healed?
Alright.
That's
Aight.
Des. Stop
Beautiful
it.
Story. Beautiful.
That's a powerful story
Crazy.
that connected that. I'm not creating that. This is what
real.
I've journeyed.
This is what I journeyed through.
You gotta be like, yo, that's how your question. That right
That's how
there.
you know you're whole, right?
Baby, you like, yo, she really healed. Like, yo, she really walking in that thing. And it may be not perfect, but that space,
Wow.
God is healed.
He is.
But just a couple of months ago, that outcome might have been a little different.
Been a
right?
fight or something, maybe. Maybe threw some grits on the man.
Remember the phone, not in the car, right? Hey, stuff might have
Might have been a
changed.
different
Al
story.
Green, baby, it may have been something different.
See what I'm
All this time
Yeah.
you wanted grits.
I
Bless
just
the
want some
Lord.
grits.
Oh God. Wanted some grits and you go to Waffle House
Yep.
and look who's there. Because God wanted to make sure he ran you through the diagnostic.
And I kid you not,
Before
the
you taught that lesson.
scripture was on healing. That study that day that we was gonna be walking through that evening in Huntsville was on healing. I said, I can't make this stuff
That lets
up.
you know you were equipped to do what you
You
needed to
can't
do.
make this stuff up.
Wow.
You can't make this up.
That is crazy.
God is good though. Like, I don't know. I'm learning. You know, people be like, oh, Christianity, the Bible. Like, listen, y'all. I ain't talking about the church. I ain't talking about church. I'm talking about a relationship. When you
With
start,
Christ.
When you start walking this relationship out with Christ for real,
Desi, you talking strong, man.
man, it's mind blowing.
Ain't it a difference? Ain't it a difference? Now, so some people sound sacrilegious when you have church brain. It can sound sacrilegious to say Christianity and church. Because Christ ain't in every church. And I preached that this Sunday on March 3rd. He's not in every church. So there is a difference then. You got that look. Yeah. This is what I mean. We do a lot of man-made stuff, and we'll put it in the church, and Christ ain't in it. How do you know when Christ is in something? Well, you got to know, first of all, you got to be in his word, but you also, the fruit will produce. There's fruit that come out of it. And the fruit that's being produced, it should be more godliness, more love, more contending for the faith. When people fall in love with reading their Bible and coming to small group studies or coming to midweek Bible study, they've fallen into a different category of Christendom. Not just church. Because it's bigger than the church to them. It's like, yo, I am transformed because of Christ. And what he uses is he's married to the church. He uses the church, the combination of people, you and I are, to meet and gather in a building. It ain't the church, it's us. It's us. We gather in a building to bring people closer to him. Man, you think it's just about, man, please, it's the word of God. And when you're being transformed like that, I don't care what nobody say. I want more of that. It's different, bro. It's different. I don't care what nobody's saying. I'm sick of people just church braining me. That's why I fell in love with apologetics too now. Because if I didn't have apologetics, this is what the devil wants to do. If I didn't find apologetics when I did, he could have derailed me and had me as an atheist. Like, I could have derailed into atheism. But if it wasn't for Norman, shout out to my spiritual father. God rest his soul, man. I wish I could have met him. But if I didn't run into Norman Geisler's book, I believe it's on creation. I got to find the book. I would have never been challenged in my own human faith with God to stay where I was and continue for the faith. I could have been an agnostic. I could have been an atheist or just a secular dude or just skeptic about everything in the Bible. It's just skeptic. But God didn't do that, man. He caught me because he knew the journey I was going to be on. And he used apologetics as a framework for my whole life to make it stronger for other people. So he caught you, man. He caught you, bro. Because somebody was going to say something to you that sounded really tempting.
It's happened.
I know it
That's
has.
what I'm telling you. Like
Okay, this is the prophetic
apologetics,
side.
man.
Forgive it, y'all. I
Ooh.
know it has. I know it has. Very tempting to follow, right?
Yes. So
Talk to
just
it.
how you study your apologetics,
Uh-huh.
other people study what they study. So when they come to you with this stuff, it sounds like, man, maybe I am. Maybe what I know might not be right, because this sounds like, he talking about, you know what I mean? So if you're not able and equipped to combat that with something, it's gonna be like, man, I don't even know what to say to that. You know what I mean? So this guy might be right. So I get how that apologetics and the Bible studies and all the little intricacies of the Bible come into play, because you understand it more. And you're able to apologetically combat what they're saying to help your viewpoint. Because if you ain't got nothing to say back, it's like, man, maybe I am wrong about this. You know what I mean? So
Maybe he is right.
You know what I mean? So I totally understand that.
Maybe
That's
that is the
crazy.
truth.
It's crazy, man.
That's real, and that's the reality of what we're in, and I'm so glad I could see it on you, man. You're hungry for truth. You're hungry for knowledge, and people that are hungry for knowledge will listen to a lot of things. And so, what I presented to you last night in Bible study, the scripture, you could be tossed to and fro from tricky doctrines, tricky language. People will say things that derail you from the faith. And I presented that scripture last night. And those things what the apostles were up against, fighting the entire a lot of heretical teaching throughout the early phases of the church. And you have to be very careful. So God caught you in enough time to connect you with the right people at the right time. Love y'all, man. This has been a great one. I know this is definitely over. But this was so good, man. I want to keep on talking for another 30 minutes, but I got to go fry some chicken. Me and my son finna have a guys' night. So, he waiting too. So, but man, shout out to all of you all. Thank you for watching the M.A.D podcast, man. It's been so good. Thank you for the co-hosts, man, Jared, man, and Desi. Man, such great insight. I hope that helped somebody. And if it did help you, I would love for you to leave a comment in the comment section and say what it is that you have either questions about or how it's helped you. And another thing, too, like, share, and subscribe. This is something that you feel compelling enough to really something a part of your life that you want to make a part of your journey. Feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And we look forward to seeing you in the comments. Look forward to seeing you again. And it's your brother Gino. And thank you for listening. And we'll catch you on the next one.